The Call. So the setup's pretty simple. You have a new kid in school who makes 3 new friends. They go to a carnival, then they invite him to a tradition that they have where they vandalize the Cranston house. The reason that they vandalize the Cranston house is because they, and I guess the rest of the town, believe that the Cranstons had something to do with the disappearance of Kathy's little sister, and they never paid for it. In the middle of vandalizing their house, they get caught by Mrs. Cranston, who tells them to leave. They tell her to leave. The next day, Mrs. Cranston dies. They all get a call by Mr. Cranston explaining that she actually left all of them in her will, and he buried a phone with her if they agree to go upstairs and talk to her for 1 minute without hanging up. They get, I think it's like $10,000. And it takes place in the 80s. I want to start off with the things I liked. Lynn Shaye and Tobin Bell. Lynn Shaye, she's the best part of this movie. She's the best part of this movie. I can't imagine working with all that makeup on would be easy at all, but I mean, she doesn't hold back. Tobin Bell, to be honest, he's the reason I even watched this movie. He's not in a lot, but you know what you're getting with Tobin, and he was used appropriately. So they were great. Both of them they did their jobs, and they did them well. The lighting effects, the blues and reds and greens and all of that are used really well. It looks clean. The music is really good. The 80s style track is better than I've heard in a lot of movies that take place in the 80s. I actually couldn't help but think this is the guy that you get for a Friday the 13th remake. I would love to hear this kind of music in a Friday the 13th movie. I'm a 90s baby, okay? But I think like a lot of us, we grew up on 80s films. Quick story, my brother showed me Creepshow for the first time when I was 10, and he tried to reassure me that it wasn't gonna be scary, that it was more like Mary Poppins. And when I watched it, it's not like Mary Poppins. It's better. So I have a love for the 80s style, the Tales from the Crypt, Creepshow, all of those kind of things. Like I do enjoy those kind of movies. That being said, I wish I had more positive things to say about this movie. Look, maybe I'll watch it again a year from now and I'll love it. I'll just fall in love with it. I won't see anything. I won't be as critical. But for right now, I watched it a couple times and I couldn't help but feel like their biggest attempt to show you that they're in the 80s is to follow a bunch of people in a hallway or just wherever you are. They just kind of follow people to show you that what they're wearing, so you feel like you're in the 80s, but it almost feels like they're just at an 80s party. You don't get a big sense of the town. You never see the town. I just feel like if you had that one landscape shot, it would have transitioned the scenes a little better. I found it a little weird that you can hear people in the background. There's a strong man, promoting his game, but you can't hear people in the mid or foreground. Like you see their lips moving, like they're having fun and everything. It just looks like they're lipping. It looks like they are just told to just move your mouth because you're but they're not in the background. I don't know, it's a weird director choice, I guess. I don't know. Now again, I love the 80s style. I really do. But I feel like it was overused in the wrong ways. This movie takes about 20 minutes to get going. Once Miss Cranston dies and Tobin is explaining the rules, and yes, he actually says, my wife likes to play games, can't get away from it. Again, they just have to stay on the phone with her, and once they're on the phone, they're in her world. It's even said, like, you're in my world now, which feels exactly like Freddy Krueger. Every horror tactic in this movie has been seen before. You have the creepy red hallways, every monster kind of guy that the character has to deal with, whoever's on the phone has to deal with. Every monsterish kind of character, they just look like a kind of a zombie-ish. They have the black goo coming out of their mouth, and they have a demonic voice behind their voice, and it's stuff you've seen before. You've got a creepy girl. I'm guessing you can imagine what she looks like. It's the same girl that you see in every horror movie. Hair over her face. How's she walking? Yep. On her hands and feet, crinking, cracking. It's the same shit. Same shit we've seen over and over and over again. That's my biggest problem with this movie. A lot of jump scares. I wish there was less jump scares. If you're trying to do something that feels 80s, I don't know why it's filled with jump scares and just that scream, and it's just not effective. I don't want to hate on this movie. I really don't. I feel like part of it is because I like the 80s stuff, and it's popular right now, which makes me wonder, did this movie even have to be in the 80s? Now that it's a trend, I don't want it to be one of those things that people just get tired of because everyone does it over and over and over again, and then it just becomes old. What I would have liked to see is if they tried to film it like a movie in the 80s. Really make it look like it was filmed in the 80s. That would have been cool. When it comes to the teenagers in movies acting scared, I want people to fucking sell it. Some of the shit that they are dealing with is fucking terrifying. It's fucking, like, there's some really scary shit that would just make you piss your pants, and these kids seem scared, but not that scared. They don't seem like they're like really fucking traumatized. Tobin is the one that brought me in. There's my The Call review. I hope you enjoyed it. What do you think? Did you watch it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Maybe I'm just being too stuck on the 80s thing. I came for Tobin, stayed for Lynn, and of course, thank you for watching.